Yep.
Hi. So, I just wanted to come in here and talk to you about this new Dune movie I've been hearing about. I've never heard of it before now. I don't know if it's something I want to see or what. Like,
You don't want to see that.
Oh, that's... Why not?
A 3-hour movie about some people in the desert. That sounds pretty boring to me.
Wait, it sounds dumb? You haven't seen the movie?
Look, I'm very busy. You think I have time to watch a terrible movie about people wandering around a desert in space? God.
What do you mean terrible? You haven't seen it.
I've seen Star Wars. It's basically the same thing.
How is that the same thing at all?
There's a desert in Star Wars.
That doesn't mean anything.
Did you not read my nameplate? I am President Internet, the president of the internet. My word is gospel.
What?
Get out of my office.
So that was a near perfect recreation of my information on the first Dune movie, and I was severely misinformed. Half the people that were talking about Dune hadn't even seen it. They were just saying it sounded boring. Those people are not a great source of information about a movie. But it wasn't just the people talking about the movie. It was also the concept of a sci-fi epic trek through a big desert planet with intergalactic geopolitics. It just doesn't actually sound that interesting on paper. And I was like, this is just another cash grab with a bunch of huge actors with some random story. And I never watched the first movie. And then suddenly Dune 2 comes out, and everybody is saying this is the greatest movie of the century, of the millennia, that they've never seen anything more beautiful or incredible. They're quoting everything.
I am Paul Atreides.
They're making like memes. The whole internet thing. And I was shocked. I was like, how does the internet flip like that from hating this franchise to loving it and calling it the greatest creation on God's green earth? So I realized that maybe the problem is just that the internet is a horrible source for opinions and that I should make my own opinions like a rational adult. So I watched both Dune movies pretty much back to back. I've seen no reviews. I've barely seen anyone talk about the movie at all. So this is all just my own opinions, and I'm going to answer this question. Is Dune 2 worth the hype, or is this just another case of TikTok viral marketing? So if you somehow haven't seen the first movie already, I'm going to give a quick recap, so spoiler warning. The first movie introduces a lot, but basically we meet the main character, Paul, who's a member of the Atreides family, who's just this big, rich, powerful family who has a decent amount of control over the galaxy, or over the universe, really. So there's all this political tension going on, and they're gifted this planet called Arrakis by the Emperor of the Universe. Arrakis is this giant desert planet, which is the only planet in the universe to produce this one resource called spice. So spice is like kind of a drug, kind of like, they say it does like everything. The main thing is it's the only way that anyone has been able to achieve intergalactic travel. But the Atreides family has a secret secondary reason that they want control of Arrakis, and that's the Fremen. The Fremen is a people living on Arrakis. They've mastered the ways of the desert, and they've been able to survive in the harshest conditions basically in the universe. The Atreides family seeks to use their strength to build themselves up and give them more influence. So because the planet is a desert and the conditions are extremely hostile, the Atreides family becomes a really easy target, and this other family, the Harkonnens, attacks them at night and kills everybody, like a ton of people, namely the head of the Atreides family, Paul's father. They think that they kill Paul and his mother, but they actually just throw them out of a ship and say, yeah, they're probably dead, but they end up surviving, and Paul and his mother seek out the Fremen. He kills one of their own, which makes him a part of the Fremen, kind of like an honorary member. The movie ends with Paul and his mother seeking to avenge his father's death and gain the strength of the Fremen to build back up the House of Atreides. Laying it all out like that, just as like a minute recap, does not do this movie justice at all. It is really good in every way the movie should be. The acting, cinematography, plot structure, everything, it's really good. Namely, a really important part of this movie was understanding the scale of everything, the scale of the giant sandworms, which I'll get to, or just the desert in general. And the movie spends a lot of time building up that scale and showing you really how big everything is. And I mean, the soundtrack was also amazing. It was by Hans Zimmer, who did Interstellar. He's done a bunch of other movies. And after finishing the movie, I was really excited to see the sequel because I loved the first one. And unlike everybody else, I didn't have to wait. So there's this thing that people do on the internet where they'll have an opinion about something, and rather than just having their opinion as it is, they take that opinion and drive it to the furthest extreme. If they like something, if they watch a movie and they enjoy it, it's suddenly the greatest movie ever. It's a generation defining, it's powerful, extreme, amazing. And if they don't like it, it's the worst piece of fiction ever invented. It's an affront to God even. That being said, Dune 2 was one of the best movies that I've ever seen. The main difference with Dune 2, I think, is that it delivered on its expectations, because the first movie set up so much, and it really did kind of come through. So I am gonna give light spoilers for Dune 2, but very light, and you're still gonna be able to enjoy this movie to the fullest.
I am Paul Muad'Dib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis!
So like I said, at the end of the last movie, Paul was seeking out the Fremen and trying to get their strength to take back the territory on Arrakis that was taken by the Harkonnens. He's been built up to be this messiah who's come to Arrakis to save the people. He's like the chosen one. The problem is that this rumor was intentionally started by this secretive group called the Bene Gesserit, something like that.
Bene Gesserit.
And it's not really true, but it also kind of is, because he's fulfilling everything that the prophecy said he would. He starts having these really vivid visions of the future that he does not like at all, and he does his best to avoid them. And the whole time, he's fighting with the Fremen to slowly take back land from the Harkonnens and get closer and closer to their main base. So this old guy from the first movie comes by and he helps them get the strength they need to make an attempt at the throne of the Emperor of the Universe. So like I said, light spoilers, nothing crazy. Basically, the whole thing about this movie is that they're at war with the Harkonnens, and it really feels like it. You're watching all these battles play out, and you can tell who has the advantage. You can see what they're gaining by fighting whatever battle of the war they're fighting. And I really want to point out, there's this scene with a giant sandworm. You'll know which one I mean if you've seen the movie. They spend probably like 5 minutes just hyping up the scale of this sandworm in comparison to everything else. In the first movie, they did a lot of scale stuff. The second movie, they had to do it again because, you know, it's been a while for a lot of people since they've felt the scale of this movie. That scene embodies everything that the second movie is to me. It's just so well thought out. It's beautiful. The acting's amazing. The soundtrack, like every decision they make is on point. And it is worth pointing out that the acting was amazing. But if you've seen the cast for these movies, if it were anything less than amazing, it would be really surprising and very sad. So, you know, the acting was great, but it kind of had to be.
Search Dune on TikTok.
Search Dune on TikTok.
Boom.
So let's start answering some questions. I've been gushing about these movies so much. Why would I not recommend them to you? Why would I say there's any wiggle room in if you'd enjoy these movies or not? So number one, this is by far the biggest reason that you might not like the movie. It is a little slow. It really does add to the movie the way they use the time scale. If the movie's a little slower all around, all of the faster action-packed moments are just that much more impactful, because it's not just a whole movie of fighting and running around and like things exploding, but it does kind of drag at times if you're not super invested in what's going on. I think that they do a really good job of starting out, getting you invested, but if you don't get hooked like I did, maybe you wouldn't like the movie as much. The second reason you might not like Dune is because it's not that fun. Like if you want to pick a movie for you and your friends or like significant other or something to just throw on, enjoy, and just chill out, it's not really the best movie for that. There's a lot of these really small details throughout both movies that they just sprinkle everywhere. And if you miss any of them, it can completely throw off your understanding of the story. So you really kind of have to sit down and stare at the movie and be invested in the movie the whole time. If you're like a cinephile, or if your friends or significant other are cinephiles, then great. You can all sit silently, sitting still, staring at the screen. But I don't think a lot of friend groups have that kind of dynamic. So it might just not be the best movie for that. And even if you're alone, if that's just the type of movie you like to watch, it's just a fun movie that you can throw on and just like relax, maybe not the best movie. I think it really is good at getting you into the action, but if that's not what you want, then again, not the best movie. The third thing, just kind of building on the last thing, is because of all those tiny details and because it's so easy to miss one or two of them, the story can be really confusing because you feel like you're sprinting to catch back up with the movie. Once you hear something that you don't understand and you're like, wait, I kind of remember that, but not really. You feel like you're just stuck behind. Sometimes it's fine. They don't mention it again, or they mention it enough times subsequently that you can get a good understanding of what's going on. But sometimes you're just kind of left in the dust and the rest of the movie or the scene or whatever can feel like just confusing. Again, if you want to sit down, stare at the movie, give it your absolutely undivided attention, you're not going to miss much. They do a really good job of layering it in to where it's comfortable. It's not like information being shoved down your throat, but because it's not so explicitly stated, you just really have to pay attention.
Honestly, it's Timothée, but I would not oblige you to say it like that, and it could be Timothy or Timmy or Doug.
So, the big question on everyone's mind, the question I posed at the beginning, does Dune 2 live up to the hype? Yeah, it does deserve hype. It's really good. I think that it's even better than the first movie, which is great, but it does feel a little made up. It does feel like somebody planned for it to have as much hype as it did. The thing that I'm really vividly recalling is when Elemental came out, they had this weird TikTok marketing thing where some random character came on screen and they were like filming in a theater and everyone just screamed out of excitement for seeing this character on screen.
Save it for the wedding. Hey. Yo, yo, yo. Anyway, June Bloom is coming, and you just got to be my date. Cause check it out. I'm all grown up. And I smell good.
This character that nobody had ever heard of before, nobody had ever cared about before, it just felt super made up to sell more tickets, which it probably was. Some of the hype around Dune 2 kind of feels like that. Not a lot of it though. I think it really is mostly just people sharing their love and enjoyment of one of the first really good franchises to come out in theaters in a while. So honestly, I would say it's very worth giving this movie a try. I would say watch like an hour of the first one. If you're not into it by an hour in, it's probably not for you. That's the best way you're gonna be able to tell. I only watched the first one to watch the second one. And I was like, I just need to get through this to get to the good one. And I was just pleasantly surprised by how they were both really good. So I hope I've laid that all out nicely. Please leave a comment. I love talking about movies with people. I'll respond like almost instantly. And thank you very much for watching.